What's up, everybody? Today I'm back with another tutorial video on P62025 Paya Lebar Methodist Girls School. Okay, so in this video, I will only cover the difficult questions. Okay, so I will pick out the difficult questions or the questions that students will usually get wrong. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. Now, the first question that I want to do is the question over here, question number 12. Can everyone just flip to question number 12? Okay, now in question number 12, this is a question that requires you to understand a concept called NOSE. Okay, always remember NOSE. NOSE basically stands for what? No's, right? That means we are going to use number of sets to help us to understand, how it works when it comes to a question like that. Okay, so in this situation, the first thing you want to do, you really, really, really want to make sure that you find your first group first. Am I making sense? All right, because if you don't find your first group, you wouldn't know how are you gonna find if there are many, many patterns? You get what I'm trying to say? So you gotta find your first group. So where do you think is the first group? Where does it stop? Tell me, where does it stop? Tell me, where does it stop? Very good. You stopped at the triangle. Why is that so? Triangle, heart, triangle, arrow, circle, triangle, right? So it stops here, right? Then triangle, heart, triangle, arrow, circle, triangle. You get where I'm coming from? So every time you see a question like that, you quickly go and find your one set first, okay? What is your one set? So in this situation, you know that your one set is how many shapes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 shapes in total. Okay, 6 shapes in total. If you want, you can even go down the extra mile of writing that I have 3 triangle, 1 heart, 1 arrow, and 1 circle. Right? 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. Okay. Now, what fraction of the first 27 shapes are triangles? So first 27 shapes, you got to get from 6 all the way to 27. Let's count in multiples of 6, okay? 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. So I cannot get to 27, so I can only get to 24 shapes. Agree or disagree? Okay, so when I get to 24 shapes over here, how do I get from 6 to 24? Well, we all know you times 4, right? True? Right? Then over here, you also times 4. So here, this is 4 sets. You get what I'm trying to say? It's 24 shapes. But this is not enough because I want 27. Agree or disagree? Okay, so where's my 25th? My 25th shape is going to be in the new set. Am I making sense? My 25th shape is going to be a triangle. My 26th shape is going to be a heart shape. My 27th shape is going to be another triangle. Do you understand or don't understand? Now, so then the question is asking you, what fraction of the first 27 shapes? Definitely, of the first 27, your denominator must be the total. Am I making sense? All right, that means what should be in the numerator? In this situation, it is going to be a triangle. Agree or disagree? Okay, my question to you is how many triangle will I have? Very simple. If you have 4 sets, how many triangles do you have in 4 sets? We know that it's 12 triangle, very good. Okay, I will not care about other shapes. I just fix my eyes on the on the triangle first. Are you understanding? Then don't forget, you have one more over here, one more over here. So therefore, this is 14. So 14 over 27. Don't press your calculator because you know obviously this one requires you to not use a calculator, right? From here itself, we can obviously see that question number 12 will therefore be the answer 4. Now, Alyssa baked some muffins for sale. She sold a total of 480 muffins in the morning. So what I'll do is I'll say in the morning, she sold 480. Oh, I saw a keyword already. What's the word? It says remaining. Can you see that? All right. When I see the word remaining, I know that this is, what kind of concept is this? This is definitely what we call ROR. Am I making sense? All right. So, but what type is this? Is this type A, type B, or type C? Definitely, this is a type C. Why is this a type C? Because what happens? I start with a whole number. All right. I start with a whole number. So what I will have is I will start with this. I will say that this part over here is 480. That should be my first step. Okay. Once I'm done with this, of course, then I'm gonna split it up. I'm gonna draw because you see in the first 480, right? I know it's in the morning. But again, I don't know how big it is supposed to be. So therefore, I just draw a box. You understand? She sold 1 over 8 of the remaining. Okay, so I'm just going to draw 8 parts. Or 8 units. So I apologize for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to shape 1 unit. And in this 1 unit, I say that this belongs to afternoon. Isn't that true? All right. Now, then in the end, so that's sentence number 3. Yeah, she had 35% of the muffins left. So My question to you is what is 35%? All right. So what is left? Let's talk about what is left first. Huh? Left is everything over here. True? Right? In terms of left itself, how many units are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Agree or disagree? So this is 7 units. Huh? Now, 35% is actually equals to what? 35 over 100. Do you understand or don't understand? Very good. Which is equals to 7 over 20. The student that is beside me right now is telling me that it's 7 over 20. So that's very good. Now, so what are we gonna do is we are going to say, okay, that since it is 7 over 20, right? Listen up very carefully, okay? You guys need to know this, this 7 units means 7 over 20. That means my hidden information is whatever that is over here. True? Which is 13 over 20. Make sense? Got it? So let's list it down. 7 over 20 means 7 units. 1 over 20 means 1 unit. 13 over 20 means 13 unit, right? So this is actually 13 unit. Agree or disagree? Afternoon is already 1 unit, right? Morning will be how many units? Like you say, the student beside me says that 12 units is 480. Why 12 units? Because he knows that is basically 13 units minus 1 unit, which is equals to 12 units, right? Then we quickly get to Mr. Greenman, right? 480 divided by 12, we get to 40. Does that make sense to you? Okay. How many muffins did she bake? Well, how many muffins did she bake? Well, we obviously have to find everything, right? So everything is how many units in total? That basically is 20 units, right? So 20 units now. If some of you are wondering, how do you get 20 units? From where do you get 20 units? Let me just put a star. This is 13. This is 7. That adds up to 20, right? 40 times 20, we know the answer is 800. And therefore, my answer for question number 14 is option number 4. Now, the next part that we are going to look at is question number 16. As you can see over here, they say express 3 over 8 as a decimal. So why are you doing this? This is such an easy question. Okay, I got a lot of students don't know how to do this. All right, 3 over 8 as a decimal. You see, the usual way is, of course, if we have good numbers like half lah, 2 over 5 lah, you just have to make it into how much? Just have to make it into 10. Am I making sense? All right, so you over here 5 over 10, and then you 5 divided by 10, you get to 0.5, right? All of these are simple, right? Times 2, you get 4 over 10, and then after that from here itself, you get to 0.4. But what happens if you have 3 over 8? So then you just have to do the division method. Am I making sense? All right, 3 divided by 8, 8 on the outside, 3 on the inside. 8 times what gives me 3? Yeah, 8 times 0, right? 3 over here, add a 0. When you add a 0, you add your father's mole. You say add a 0, you add your father's mole. You bring down the 0, you say 8 times what? Gives me 30. 8, 16, 24, right? So 3. You get what I'm trying to say? All right, then there's a 6 over here, then 0 over here. Bring down the 0. 8 times what gives me 60? We definitely say that it is 7, right? 7, 56. We get 4. We put a 0. We bring it down. We get 8 times 5 gives me 40. From here, what you're going to do, you are going to close the cage, right? So over here, you know that this basically becomes, okay, I'm going to write it in another color. This is going to be 0.375, okay? And therefore, if you want to convert from 3 over 8 to a decimal, you know that the answer or the method over here is to divide. If you cannot make it into a denominator of 10 or 100 or 1,000, you understand? Or even if you cannot simplify, right? 3 over 8, you cannot simplify, so you have to go and divide. So this is my answer for this question. Okay, so right now we are on to the part 2 or paper 2 of Paya Lebar Methodist. So just now we have already done most of the, not most lah, but the difficult questions in paper 1. Now we are going to look at paper 2. All right, I want to look at question number 4. Now, whenever you do a fraction question, you know that it has to be PWRS. Right? A fraction question, sorry, I apologize. I meant whenever you do a fraction question, you know it has to be of this concept or of this concept name called Burp for me right now, dude. All right. In this question, what concept do you think they are testing you? Okay, the concept for this question is called part-whole relationship. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to write PWRs. Okay, now your superpower as a student is really to make sure that every question can be conceptualized. You understand? It's almost as if like you put this question, you group them up. You put that question, you group them up. It's clearer that way. Do you understand? Okay, so let's read this question together. It says that Fritz Heller stored oranges in crates A and B. Now, in crate A, what happens is that crate A contains twice as much as crate B. The reason why I say this is PWRS is because you can see over here, okay, they are telling you that the oranges is in two baskets, A and B. You understand? So that is the whole. That is the total. Agree? Then in those baskets, right, when it comes to oranges, there are some that are what? Ready for you to eat. We call that ripe. And then there are also some that are not ripe. Agree or disagree? Okay, so this is called PWRS. The moment it's PWRS, we have to dab. Right? Draw a branch, right? So we will have, first thing first, we'll have A over here. And then we'll have to write down that A equals to 2 units. And then after that, we will also have B over here. And we'll say that B is equals to 1 unit. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, so that's the first sentence that, or the first thing that I should do, right? In sentence number 2, it says what? In crate A, half of the oranges were ripe. So you're going to break it up, true? All right, and if they say half of it were ripe, isn't it true? Isn't it true that the other half is unripe? You agree or disagree? Right, that means these are not ready for you to eat. You agree or disagree? Right, because these are not ready for you to eat, what you're going to do, obviously, now, okay, is to make sure you say half of it, half of the oranges. The reason why I emphasize on the word of is really because of in math means multiply, right? So that means 1 unit is right, 1 unit is unripe. Am I making sense? Okay. Then when you go on to this part, right, you realize that, oh, they say 5 over 6. 5 over 6 of the oranges are ripe. So we're going to go to ripe and we're going to put 5 over 6. But then when I do 5 over 6 times 1 unit, I don't really quite like the answer, right? The answer that I get is 5 over 6 units, right? I prefer it to be a whole number. Agree or disagree? So my students know that whenever you want it to be a whole number, you have to make sure that you multiply to a number that is a multiple of the denominator, right? So you cannot do 5 over 6 times 1 unit. Why? Because 1 unit is not a multiple of 6. Right? So what can you do? You just have to make it into a multiple of 6 by actually multiplying this by 6. True? All right, then you times 6 to this as well. Do you agree or disagree? Then you times 6 to this as well. You times 6 to this as well. So you get 6 units over here, 6 units over here. This you get to 12 units. This one you get to 6 units, right? You see, basket A is still twice as much as basket B. You get what I'm trying to say? All right, so when you multiply, you get to a whole number. A whole number makes your life easier, lah. Okay? All right, so you get 6 units over here. Over here, you get 5 units. What's your unripe? Okay, you know that it's 1 unit. Does it make sense to you? Okay, so yeah, once you have this, of course, then now you can answer to the question. Well, but before I even answer to the question, I just want to remind all of you again that when it comes to a sentence like that, what fraction of all the oranges were ripe? It is basically of the oranges were ripe, basically means ripe over the total. Okay, remember it is the total, not the total in A or total in B, right? Total in this situation, we know that it's 12 and 6. So we're just going to put 12 plus 6. Okay, right? That means I need to cast my eyes on the RIPE, right? So that basically means 6 plus 5. And that's the reason why your answer for this question has to be 11 over 18. Now, the next question is a whole numbers concept, right? If it's a whole numbers concept, we always say, my students in the Impact Academy knows that it's always what? Bunny, very good. Bunny, they're all very sharp. Bunny bears, oh, he is very sharp. Bunny bears 3. You understand or don't understand? All right, bunny bears 3, yeah? Now, so you always write down this concept first, okay? In this situation, this concept, right, is actually the I over here, okay? All right, why is it the I over here? Because I stands for internal transfer. You understand? Okay, if I were to bring you back to primary 3, primary 4, you definitely have heard of this concept called comparison, right? And how do I know it's comparison? Because of the word more than. And the reason why I want to say that this is comparison is because comparison tells us that I need to draw a model. So I will start with drawing a model first. May Ayasha. May had how much? 18 more, right? So if May had 18 more, we're going to show that this part, numbers on the outside or numbers on the inside, always make sure that is on the outside. Understand? Now, then what did May do? Why do I say it's internal transfer? Because May give to Ayasha, right? If you remember this, when I give to Ayasha means May give to Ayasha, Ayasha give to me. So that means to say there is no change in the total. Isn't that true? That's called internal transfer, right? What did May do? May gave some stickers. Some means what? Can I say some is half? Can I say some is 20? Cannot. I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say? But I know for sure, I know one thing for sure is that May definitely gave something. Okay? Then I continue on to read. Don't worry about that. You know, keep that aside, put that aside first. You read sentence number 3. It says that she as in May, May now had what? 24 fewer. Okay, so that means to say definitely this has disappeared, right? So we're just going to add over here first. Okay, this come over to here. We know that this is 18, right? As of now, do you see that May has 24 fewer? No. So we got to take away another part of this, and we are going to transfer over to this part. Agree or disagree? All right, I might want to use another color and dotted lines. So I don't know how much is this, but one thing I know for sure is that I can mirror image now. Can you see that? All right. Now, one thing for sure, you know, right, very importantly, is that it's 24 fewer. So where is 24? 24 is this entire thing. So you got to blanket this entire thing and say this is 24, right? So then, of course, from here itself, you can see, right, if this is 24, don't you agree that these two parts, they are the same, right? So what you want to do is just simply 24 minus 18 divided by 2, right? So 24 minus 18 equals to 6. 6 divided by 2, that becomes 3. So therefore, these two ticks inside is 3. Agree? But is the answer 24? No, 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 no. Why? Because how many they may give to Ayesha? May give to Ayesha, I'm just going to maybe highlight those part, or just highlight the box that May has given away. Right? This was the one that May has given away. Agree or disagree? All right, so therefore you just have to say 18 plus 3, and therefore your answer for this question has to be 21. So this person, honestly, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Carlis, something like that. Okay, Carlis always spends 70% of her salary. So we're going to draw a branch. Oh, what concept is this? Well, percentage, we say P, but 30% cream, right now. So over here, this is his salary. This is her, is it her? Oh, yeah, her salary. Okay, so this is how much she earns. All right, she spends a bit. All right, so she spends 70%. If she spends 70%, that means she saved, all right? Naturally, you know the hidden information over here is 30%, right? Okay. So once you have this ready, what you're going to do next, of course, you're going to now look at the second sentence, right? The second sentence says, hey, you know that her salary for December was 40% more than that of November. This is a concept. The moment you see that there is a comparison for percentage, we know that this is what we call CAMQ. All right, CAMQ. All right, CAMQ is the one of the concept over here. I just put a tick. You understand? All right. The reason why I say CAMQ is because of the word, not thank you. Okay, not a thank you concept. It's called CAMQ. Understand? Okay. So that means to say December, right, versus November, right? In this situation, right, which one is the base? The base is the one that is November, right? 100% is in November, 140% is in December. Okay. So, because she has what? What did they say? The question said that what? She, what did she do? What did she do? What did she do? She spends what? She spends what? More, right? So let's assume what we can do is we can assume that this is our November. Okay? So this is always our November. Now, what happens in your December salary is that it has increased by a bit. All right. So over here, this is December. Does it make sense to you? We're going to break it out down, but always remember that he still or she still spends 70%. But now it is no longer 70% of November salary. It is 70% of December salary. And we have already concluded, right? All right, right above is that the salary for December is 140%, right? So if spends to 70%, and then saved is still 30%, right? Correct or not? But what happens now is that the total has changed. So you got to go and multiply to the total. Do you agree or disagree? Right? The total has changed. So 70 over 100, you're going to multiply to, let's see, 70 over 100, you're going to multiply to 140, right? To help you to see that, oh, now he has spent what, 98%. Do you understand? Okay. Now, of course, now, right, once we have 98%, okay, remember the reason why now it became 98% is because you see, when the total increases, or when the whole increases, right, what happens? The amount that you spend also increases. Isn't that true? Just imagine this. I use a very simple analogy, okay? Let's say you are a farmer. Okay, in the past, you only have a plot of land that is this size. Okay, the number of fruits that you grow over here, you always take 20% of the fruits only. You always take 20, or maybe you say, okay, I will keep 20% of the fruits. The 80% I will just sell it. Okay? Now, this 20% that you are going to take from this plot A of land, this 20%, is it going to be the same as the 20% of a land that is 10 times bigger? Exactly. Right? This 20% that you take, the 20% fruits that you're going to keep in land B, is it going to be more or lesser? More. Thank you. You get what I'm trying to say? Even though the percentage remains the same, the value in it is different, right? Because I'm multiplying to a bigger land. You get what I'm trying to say? If I'm multiplying to a smaller land, then that is going to reduce, right? What if my land size has decreased to this, even smaller? Then my 20% is going to be even smaller. You agree or disagree? Do you understand? Okay, all right. So now what we are going to do, now that we have already established this, what we are going to ask ourselves is very simple. All right, we're going to ask ourselves in the next sentence, right? It says that as a result means what? The meaning of as a result is very important, right? As a result means if because her salary has increased by 40%, what happens is that she spent $560 more in December than in November. So you got to go to December, spend, November, spend, and you compare. The comparison in this situation in percentage is 28%. Isn't that true? So we know that 28% is going to be, as you can see over here, the question says how much? How much more? $560 more. So we have a $560. All right, we're going to get to Mr. Greenman, which is my 1%, 560 divided by 28. All right, what we are going to get to is something called $20. Got it? Okay, I think more importantly is the question that they want us to find. What did the question say? How much was her salary in December? How much was her salary means I need to find the total, or I need to find the whole. Agree, disagree? Which circle do I look at? Obviously, I look at the one in December, which is this one over here. Right? How many percent am I supposed to look at? 140%. Remember? All right. So I have 140%. What happens is that I'm going to do 20 times 140. So therefore, as you can see over here, her salary in December is 2,800. And that's your answer for this question. So in question number 10, once again, this is about whole numbers. So you always say bunny, best, re. Okay? Right, over here, this is 1000% what we call BDSD. All right, I will explain to you why this is BDSD in a bit. Okay, now in the first part, it's very simple. Right, we know that Winnie plus Sophie, a total of how much? 3,620. Right, and we know that Winnie was paid how much more than Sophie? Well, we can see 1,960. Right, so 1,960, what you're going to do is obviously you're going to make sure you draw a model. All right, show that Winnie has how much more? 1,960 more. Okay, so we're going to make sure that this part is drawn nicely. We know that Winnie is paid $1,960 more. The total in this situation is 3,620. I think every student who is watching this should be able to do this question, right? Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. Okay, so in the first part, make sure the 1 mark you get it. So you can see over here, this is 1 unit, and then this is also 1 unit. True? True. Okay, so then you are going to now obviously, right, just say, okay, just find your 1 unit. Am I making sense? Okay, how do you find your 1 unit in this situation? Very simple. You all know, right? You just have to do 3,620, all right, minus away 1,960, and then after what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 2, right? So this is my 1 unit. Okay, this is my 1 unit. So when you do 3,620 divide minus 1,960, then you divide by 2, you get to an answer of 830. All right, so over here, you're going to make sure that you write down 830. Okay, so we know that 830 is basically my 1 unit, right? Now, what did the question say? The question say, how much was Winnie paid for the job? So for Winnie herself, paid for the job, very simple. We just have to basically say that it is 830 plus 1,960. Okay, so when we add them up together, we get to an answer of 2,790. All right, so this amount over here, as you can see, Winnie, she's paid 2,790 for the job that she has done. Now, so we know that for Winnie herself, right? Winnie, she was paid 2,790. For Sophie was paid 830. Got it? Okay, now this is our how much, right? Now, then after that, they did tell you the how many days. They did tell you the how many days worked. How many days did Winnie work? Winnie worked 3 times as many days as Sophie. You get what I'm trying to say? So of course Winnie get paid more, right? True or not? Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to say that for Winnie herself, she's paid 3 times. So this entire thing, in fact, I won't even draw a model. 'Cause I don't even need that, right? I will say 3 units of Winnie's work days is basically 2,790. Got it? Then 1 unit of Sophie's workday is going to be 830. Agree or disagree? Can you compare these two and say, oh yeah, that means Winnie earns more? No, right? You cannot compare. Why is unfair? What? True. Very unfair to this person called Sophie, right? Sophie is like, what? Wait, but I only work 1 unit. You get what I'm trying to say? So what you want to do is you want to bring which down? You want to bring to 1 unit of Winnie's work day. You want to bring it down to one unit of Winnie work day, right? So you're going to basically do 2790 divided by 3. You get to an answer of 930. Got it? All right. Then from here itself, what you can do is obviously you can compare these two. Agree or disagree? All right. Then this is basically called your big difference already. Okay, all right. So the big difference in this situation is basically 930 minus away 830. We know that the answer is $100. Make sense? All right. The small difference is very obvious. Winnie was paid $5 more than Sophie per day. So then the small difference in this situation, we all know that small difference. Okay, maybe I go to big difference. It's always 1 unit versus 1 unit. Okay, small difference is always what? One item, 1 day. Over here is 1 day versus 1 day. Agree or disagree? All right, so small difference in this situation is $5. Got it? Okay, so of course, then once I have this ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the number of days. All right, I want to find the number of days. Okay, how do I find the number of days? I will basically do $100 divided by $5. I'll get to an answer of 20. My question to you is 20 what? 20 days. You get it? All right, 20 days in 1 unit. But the question is not asking us for Winnie. The question is asking us for Sophie, right? Sophie worked how many days? You all remember Sophie worked how many days? 1 unit of days, right? So therefore, your answer for this question has to be 20 days for Sophie. Now, in the next question, you can see over here, right? It says that the table shows the prices of entry tickets for a theme park. Okay, so if you are below 65 years old, you're only paying $24. If you are 65 years and above, oh, you're paying cheaper, right? $17. And if you're a child, how do you know if you're a child? If you're below 12 years old, right? So all of you who are watching this, definitely you are going to pay $10. Okay. Now, the question says that the number of adult tickets sold was 6 times the number of children tickets sold. So they never say specifically which kind or what kind of adults. Doesn't matter if you're 65 above or 65 below. But one thing for sure I know is that adults to children is 6:1. Okay. Then in sentence number 2, it says 4/5 of the adult tickets sold. 4/5 of the adults tickets sold. So over here, they want to break it up, all right? So if you're below 65 and if you're above 65. But I have, once again, an issue. The issue that I have is if I were to do 4/5 times 6, I don't get to a whole number. So I don't prefer this. I don't want to times 6. What I want to do is I want to change my ratio to a multiple of the denominator, right? Okay, so if I change my ratio, it becomes what? Okay, in fact, I will just show you the change. Okay, I will just show you the change. I will times 5 over here. I will times 5 over here. Got it? All right, so then from here itself, you know that A is to C is going to be 30:5. When you do this, then it's way easier, right? If you're below 65, I just put B65, and if you're above 65, if you're below 65, how many of them? Okay, 4/5 of it. So 4/5 times 30, right? Then this you definitely get to a whole number, right? When you get to a whole number, it's better, way better. 24 units. For this will be 1/5 times 30, you get to 6 units. Make sense? Okay, what fraction of the tickets? Of the tickets means tickets has to be in the denominator. They never just say tickets, they say tickets sold were for adults, right? So basically adults tickets. All right, over here, this is 65 years and above. So I just put A65. A65, you know, is 6. Total, or in fact, this is out of the adults only. This is not out of the total. That means to say you will not include OMC, no, you will include everyone. You will include not just the adults, you will also include the children. All right, so I will just put total over here. Sorry, I made a mistake over here. So this should be 30 plus 5. As you can see over here, this then gets you to an answer of 6/35. So this is definitely an NXV, all right, a number X value. Whenever it's a number X value, we draw our table. All right, we will have 3 rows in total. How many columns? 3 columns because adults is split into 2 parts, right? So if you are above 60, if you're below 60, and if you're children or if you're a child, okay? Number, value, total value. Okay? If you're above 60, how many units? How many units for above 60? For above 60, how many units in total? 24 units, right? 6 units. Got it? All right, just now in the earlier part, right? Sorry, I accidentally erased it already. But it's basically 5 is to 30. Okay, then we broke it down, right? If you're above 60 and if you're below 60, right? There's a difference, right? So this is 24 is to 6. Understand? Okay, this is basically the how many. Agree or disagree? But this is not the actual number. This is basically just in groups. Does it make sense? Or in multiples. Understand? Okay, so we have 6 units. If you're above 60, I apologize, the other way around, right? If you're above 60, it should be 6 units. If you're below 60, it should be 24. Make sense or doesn't make sense? Right? And it's not even 60. Hello, it's 65. Okay, 65, not 60 years. So I'll just put 65 over here. 65 means 65 years old. So 65 and 65. Got it? Okay, so if you are below 65, 24 units. If you're a child, you have 5 units of children. Got it? And then how much are you going to pay? $10. How much are you going to pay over here? For below 65, you're going to pay how much? You're going to pay an amount of $24, right? And then over here, you're going to pay $17. Got it? So when you want to multiply, you get to $102 unit. Over here, 24 times 24 is 576 units. This one is $50 unit. Got it? All right. And the question did say, what did the question say? Let's just move up for a bit. The question did say that a total of how much? 9,464 was collected. Okay, so that means to say everything over here, when I add it all up, okay, all of this, when I add up together, it gets me to an answer of how much? 9,464. Make sense? So for my equation, right? I'll say $102 units plus $576 unit plus, let me just plus, what is this amount? Is $50 unit, right? It's actually equals to, let me just see over here, 102 plus 576 plus 50, we get to an answer of $728 units. So then $728 units is actually equals to 9,464. So 1 unit is actually going to be 9,464 divided by 728. Okay, 9,464 divided by 728. You see what happens to my dollar and my dollar? I cancel out, right? So then your answer in this situation, you get 13. This 13 is 13 what? 13 what? 13 tickets. Okay, always remember, it's 13 tickets. It's the unit of the other one, right? The question say, how many what? What did the question say? What was the total number? Total number. Total number means I want to find this over here, true? All right, how many units in total? 35 units. And therefore, when you do 13 times, okay, let me just erase away this. All right, when you do 13 times 35, you get to an answer of 455 tickets. Okay, and that's your answer for this question. So there were some books on shelf A and shelf B. Is there anything that you can do for this? No, there isn't, right? Zero. Okay, so what I will do is I will definitely ignore the first sentence. I'll read sentence number 2. Now, but because I see a fraction, right? I know that this is basically verb for me right now. Okay, which concept I'm still not sure, right? However, as I continue to read, I can see that Emily, what did she do? She took out what? 1/7, So definitely this is what we say BNA, right? Because there is a change that is going to happen. Okay, so what I will do if it's a BNA, I will definitely want to make sure that I draw my table out. I'll have my table out. I will have a few things over here. I will have A over here and I'll have a B over here. Okay, I'm going to have my before, I'm going to have my change, and I'm going to have my final column or final row, which is called. What did Emily do? She took out 1/7 of the books from shelf A. And what did she do with that 107? She didn't sell it away. She went to put it into shelf B. Make sense? Okay, and because she did that, right, that means we can safely assume that A has 7 over 7 at first. True? All right, then this is 7 units. This will be 1 unit. If I took out 1 over 7, naturally you can say that I'm left with 6 over 7, which is 6 units. Make sense? Okay, and this 1 over 7, 1 unit came from where? Came from A. True? Okay, you can draw this table first. Once you're done with this, then you realize the question says, as a result, so this is sentence number 3, yeah, the ratio of the number of books on shelf A to the number of books on shelf B became 3:5. Oh, what does that mean to you? It means that this is my 3 parts. Isn't that true? Then this is my 5 parts. So I can already associate because I can see that 3 parts is actually equals to 6 units. 1 part, naturally, you know that this is 2 units. So we can get to 5 parts, which is then how many units? 10 units. Isn't that true? Right? So what I have now, I can see that this is 10 units. So this is my 10 units. Do you understand? So I want to work backwards. I want to make sure all of my table, everything in my table is filled. So this is 9 units. Make sense? Okay, so I have 9 units from shelf B. Okay, so now what is going to happen? What is going to happen now is, of course, to read the final sentence, right? They say that the question said that there were 156 more books on shelf B than on shelf A, right? So this is what happens after, right? True? So you can see shelf A has 6 units, shelf B has 10 units. So that means we can say 10 units minus 6 units is equals to 4 units. Isn't that true? Right? Then 4 units is actually going to be 156. So we got to our Mr. Green Man, right? 156 divided by 4, we get to 39. You want to read the question? Of course, in the first question, right? We have already jumped away from the first question. We went on to B, yeah. So you know what? I will just solve B first, can? The question say how many books were there on shelf B at first? That means to say 9 units I'm trying to find. Does it make sense to you? All right. So you do 9 times 39, you realize that your answer is 351. Okay. Now, of course, we can again obviously answer the first part of the question, right? The first part of the question says what? What was the ratio of number of books on shelf A to the number of books on shelf B? The question says what? At first. At first, you've got to cast your eyes on this part. Can see? All right, so therefore, at first is 7:9, right? Because they say A to B, right? A very common trick that teachers like to do is they like to swap it around. They go and say shelf B to shelf A. Make sense? All right, and that's how you would do a question like this. Now, store A and store B sold the same total number of burgers and sandwiches at school. Now, Carnival, yummy. You prefer burger or sandwich? I prefer sandwich. Now, because it's same, right? We're gonna have A over here, B over here. We're gonna draw a model and make sure. Okay, we're gonna draw a model and make sure that they are of the same size, right? And we can see that the burger is $4.50 and the sandwich is $2. Okay, so then we move on, right? It says that shop A sold some burgers and 64 sandwiches. Oh, I don't know how many burgers, You get what I'm trying to say? All right, but I know for sure sandwiches is 64. So no, don't worry about burgers. I'll just say 64 is over here. This is 64S. Agree or disagree? And then whatever that is over here, is going to be burgers. Okay, but don't rush into it. Don't worry. Focus on sandwiches first. For shop B itself, right? Shop B itself, as you can see over here, is 96 sandwiches. All right. In fact, because it's 96, I'm just going to make it a little bigger. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bigger. So I'm just going to make it a little bigger. All right, I can show you, okay, that this entire thing over here is 96. All right, so what I will do is I'll mirror image down. All right, that means to say this is 64 sandwiches. This is 64 sandwiches. What is this part over here? This question mark over here is going to be 96 minus away 64. All right, so that means I will have 32 sandwiches. I will mirror image up. Do I mirror image up 32? Yes, but do I mirror image up sandwiches? No, I will just say burgers, right? Because you all realized, okay, in fact, I'm just going to use another color for burgers, because you realize that everything over here and everything over here is burgers, all right? So I will just put 32 burgers, all right? What is this? I still don't know, but I am very certain it's burgers. Make sense? So the question say what? What did the question say? The question say that, hey, which store collected more money? So more money means I need to consider how much is one burger, right? One burger is $4.50. All right. One sandwich is how much? $2. True? Right? So you look at this. Isn't this at this amount? Because they are the same, right? So definitely the amount over here is the same. Because both is also burger, right? True or not? Then this one and this one also same one, right or not? In fact, it's not this 96. I should have this one over here. Isn't that true? Right? They are the same price, right? Because the quantity is also the same. The type is also the same. You agree or disagree? The only difference is whatever that is over here and whatever that is over here. Obviously, we know, right? Who do you think collected more money? It's pretty obvious to us, lah. The one that sold burger, right? Just imagine one burger is for $4.50, and then shop A, let's put shop A over here, sold 32 burgers, right? You just have to do 450 times 32, all right? It's 144. Okay, then one sandwich is $2. Shop B sold 32 sandwiches, right? This is $64. Isn't it obvious to you that shop A definitely is, or store A definitely is the one that sells more? The question says how much more. They are not asking you how much, right? They're asking you how much more. So 144 minus away 64. 144 minus away 64, we get to an answer of $80. So definitely shop A received $80 more than shop B, even though shop A and shop B, they sold the same number of burgers and sandwiches. Now, the next question it says what? The total mass of burgers and sandwiches sold at store A was how much? 8.32 kg. Okay, the total mass of burgers and sandwiches. So what you want to do is, of course, you can just, list it down first, right? You can say that this itself is basically going to be 8.32 kg. Okay, then after that, they say each burger is 60 grams heavier than each sandwich. This is a very, very big hint, right? You're going to go one burger, one sandwich. Each burger is 60 grams heavier. So what you will do is you will show that this is one burger, and this one burger in this situation is going to be 60 grams heavier. Okay, so that's the next part. Got it? Okay, now I ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? Will there be any weight difference in the first part? Okay, you know what? I'll make it even more obvious. I'm probably going to highlight it instead. All right, would there be any difference in my first part? I'll highlight in yellow. Would there be any weight difference? There's no price difference. Would there be any weight difference in my first part? Yes or no? No. Why? Because the number of burgers over here is the same. True? Right? And it's burgers. So the weight has to be the same. True? Would there be any weight difference here and here? No, once again. Why? Because it's the same type of what? Same type of what? Same type of sandwiches, right? True? The only difference is again the one in the middle. You get where I'm coming from? The only difference is the one in the middle. So what I will do is I will quickly ask myself, right? If one burger is in terms of weight, so over here, this is the weight, so I'm just going to put weight over here. Right? In terms of weight, I have 1 unit and 60 grams. If I have 32 of them, I'm just going to times 32. Then for sandwiches, I have 32 of them. I will also go ahead and times 32. Right? So from here itself, what do you see? You realize one very important fact, this becomes 32 units plus 60 times 32, we get to 1,920 grams. This one is just 32 units. Do you understand or not understand? Okay, and this is the difference. Make sense or don't make sense? This is the difference. True? Okay, so what are you going to do now? What are you going to do right now? The difference is how much? What is the difference? All right, what is the difference? The difference is this. True or not? Right? We know that the mass for A and B, right? The total mass of, sorry, they never say A and B. They say A only. They say A only. They say A was how much? 8.32 kg. Correct or not? Right? Which one is heavier? Tell me which one is heavier. A or B? A, because A sells what? Burgers. Burgers are heavier. True? How much heavier?
60 grams.
Why 60 grams? 60 grams is only for one. What is the total difference? What is the big difference? The big difference in this situation, is how much? It is simply just 1,920 grams. What is the small difference? The small difference in this situation is simply just 60 grams. True? Right? So what you're going to do, you're going to BDSD again, right? So from here itself, when you divide, what happens? When you divide, what do you get? You basically have to do 1,920 grams divided by 60 grams. 32. True? Right? In fact, we already have that 32. True? What is the question asking us to find? The question say, what is the total mass of burgers and sandwiches sold by stall B in kg? So isn't it quite obvious? I say again, I emphasize on one thing, their difference is just 1920. So you just have to do 8.32 minus the weight, 1.92. Why is it 1.92? Why not 1920? Because it's all in kg. Got it? Right? I say this again, the difference between A and B is simply just 1920. Okay? I shouldn't have just write the 1920 over here. You know what I'll do? I'll just squeeze it all over here. 32 units plus 1920 grams. All right? The difference between A and B is simply just 1920. Emphasize again, why is that so? Because over here, the weight is the same. Okay, use another color. Over here, the weight is the same. Over here, the weight is the same. Those that I've just circled. Okay, then the one that I'm starring right now, this and this, there is a difference in terms of their weight. How much is that? The difference is 1920. Do you understand or not understand? All right, so then, therefore, 8.32 minus 1.92, we get to an answer of 6.4 kg. So this is the mass of the burgers and sandwiches sold by store B in grams or no, in kg. All right, so I don't even have to convert. All right, so therefore, your answer for this question has to be 6.4 kg.
Hi everyone, if you like this video, you can click right here for a similar video or you can view our playlist here.